In 2011, teen pregnancy is not something that is hidden in the United States anymore, but rather exploited. The independent film Juno sparked a national fascination with teen pregnancy.
All you've got in your stomach is Taco Bell. You think you're really gonna do this? Yeah, but I'm guessing it looks probably like a sea monkey right now. We should let it get a little cuter, right?
Great. MTV presents
TV inflated the trend with its show 16 and Pregnant.
an unprecedented look at the controversial issue of teen pregnancy.
She's 16 years old. She's a baby.
I just cannot handle this.
Many people couldn't get enough of this show, which led to MTV creating a spinoff called Teen Mom.
Glad you're home, Caitlin. She looks like me in these ones, I think.
When you're still a kid yourself.
These new teenage reality TV stars are all over the covers of tabloid magazines on a weekly basis. Having a child as an adolescent is far from glamorous, but one wouldn't think so because of how much these girls are in the news. Statistics show that 3 out of 10 girls in the US will get pregnant before the age of 20, but only 1 out of 6 will become teen moms. In 2005, the infant mortality rate for babies born to mothers under 20 was 10.28 deaths per 1,000 live births, compared to the average of 6.86 deaths per 1,000 live births for all births. While in 2006, the infant mortality rate for mothers under the age of 15 was 16.5 deaths per 1,000 live births. Infant mortality is the death of an infant anytime in the first 12 months of their life. I interviewed Dr. Amita Vyas, Assistant Professor and Director of the Maternal and Child Health Program in the Department of Prevention and Community Health at the George Washington University School of Public Health and Services. She had a lot to say about how infant mortality happens to teen mothers, as well as how it affects them in the long run.
I think what's really important is to first understand a little bit of the landscape of infant mortality. So if you were to look at infant mortality around the world, we actually have one of the highest infant mortality rates of any industrialized country. I think we rank 25th or 27th in the world. So we're comparable actually to some developing countries. We see that there are significant disparities in terms of infant mortality to look at race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status. So we see higher rates of infant mortality across all poverty levels or all socioeconomic status levels when we look at African Americans compared to whites. We also actually see higher infant mortality rates among Asian Americans in the United States. One is congenital abnormalities, which can be picked up in the screening and surveillance during prenatal care. So people who don't access prenatal care may not be able to sort of test for some of those genetic abnormalities, and therefore might not be able, without those proper screening procedures, we might not be able to do something about it. So that's one. 2 is SIDS. We've greatly reduced the risk of SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome, or people used to say crib death. So babies literally stop breathing while in their sleep. And the Back to Sleep campaign, if you don't know about that, which is basically we now put babies to sleep on their backs, has really contributed to sort of a decrease in SIDS. And then the third probably significant risk factor, which I also think is probably the most preventable, is low birth weight and preterm births. So babies born before the 37th week and babies born at low birth weight. So some of the risk factors for that, some of them are behavioral, not having access to prenatal care early on. Risky behaviors such as smoking. Smoking during pregnancy actually causes low birth weight and preterm delivery. Other kinds of substance use, environmental exposures such as secondhand smoke. So all of those can contribute to that. People are also looking more at things around mental health. Mental health and substance use really go together. And so are there things that are happening in a woman's life that then when they get pregnant will contribute to sort of low birth weight, preterm birth, and ultimately infant mortality? So if we were to just think about adolescents in general, right, they are less likely to access prenatal care in time, right? They have poor nutrition behaviors, which can, another thing is if we were to look, for example, at Hispanic teen mothers, we have high rates of gestational diabetes among those moms. And so if they're not accessing prenatal care, if they've got poor nutrition, that can really exacerbate and increase their risk for gestational diabetes, which then poses risks to the baby and to the mother as well, which can increase infant mortality. And then just think about sort of adolescents developmentally. They often find out that they're pregnant later in their trimester. Again, they don't access prenatal care in time. They're more likely to have poor nutrition. They're more likely not to have enough folic acid and sort of take care of themselves. They're less likely to have social support, access to medical care, particularly if we're talking about the DC community, and that they're just developmentally not at a place where they're able to take on that responsibility during the time of pregnancy. So we do see increased risks of infant mortality for that population.
Infant mortality is more common amongst teen mothers due to how they are unable to handle their pregnancy. Society needs to stop glamorizing teen pregnancy and start looking at the physical and emotional realities. Pregnant teens need to think about their health and well-being while pregnant in order to carry and deliver a healthy child. More education and outreach is clearly needed instead of teen pregnancy being glamorized. And this has been Rebecca Jones reporting for School Without Walls News.